There are places in the world that exist just between moments, between a sigh and a sunrise, between a falling leaf and the hush of snowfall. Whisperwell Hollow is one of those places. It didn't appear on maps. You couldn't find it by searching. It revealed itself only when someone grew truly, soulfully tired. The kind of tired that words can't explain. The kind that lives in the space between your ribs and echoes softly in the quiet part of your chest. The village sat between two hills where the wind slowed and the stars seemed to pause. The trees bowed slightly, not out of age, but out of reverence. The lanterns that lined its paths glowed not with fire, but with stored starlight. And no one hurried, not even time. It was said that Whisperwell appeared to those who were ready to let go, not of life, but of noise, on a cloudy, quiet dusk. A traveler named Rowen arrived at the edge of this forgotten place. His boots were worn. His bag was light. His shoulders were heavy. He was not running, not searching, not escaping. He was simply ready, ready to stop, ready to breathe, ready to rest. Ruwen was greeted by a figure in the mist, an old woman with a shawl made of cloud-colored yarn and hands like woven stories. Her eyes were the color of moon tea, and her smile was slow, as if it had traveled a long way to reach him. "No need for names here," she said. "We speak in whispers. We listen with our hearts." She led him down a winding cobblestone path, flanked by lanterns hung from bent tree limbs. The path curved gently and deliberately, leading to a small inn nestled under the roots of a hill. A curved wooden sign above the arched door read, "The Inn of Quiet Things." No clocks, no keys, just calm. Inside, the air smelled of rosemary, parchment, and the faint sweetness of honey. There was no check-in desk, no list, just a single bell sitting silently on a velvet cushion. Rowen didn't ring it, but it chimed anyway. "You're ready," the innkeeper smiled. He was shown to a round room with a circular bed. The walls were covered in shelves, each lined with old books that seemed to sigh when you passed them. There was no ceiling, just an open dome through which the stars peeked quietly, blinking slowly as if they were dozing too. His room had no number. Instead, his door bore the symbol of a fox curled in a nest of leaves, resting beneath a crescent moon. He set down his bag, sat at the edge of the bed, and he exhaled fully for the first time in a long while. The pillow on the bed was round, plushed, and covered in fabric that shimmered faintly when the lantern light touched it. When Rowen laid his head down, the pillow spoke. Not in words, not exactly, but in feeling. He remembered suddenly the smell of cedar from his childhood cabin, the sound of snow falling, the rustle of bed covers as his mother tucked him in, the warmth of a sunbeam through a window in spring. The pillow didn't offer new dreams, it returned old ones, gentle ones. Moments he had forgotten, not because they were unimportant, but because life had become too full to hold them all. He didn't try to fight sleep. He let it come, softly, sweetly, as if being carried. Asterisk morning, or something like it, arrived. But in Whisperwell, mornings didn't push, they invited. Rowen rose, his steps light. He wandered through the village, guided by instinct more than direction. He followed the scent of old pages and steam. Soon he arrived at a small, circular building, its walls wrapped in ivy and bells made of wind chimes and whispers. Carved sign above the rounded door read, "The Library of Lost Drowsing Books. You don't need to finish." Inside, the air was warm and dense with quiet. There were no lamps, only soft glowing glass jars filled with sleeping fireflies. The shelves were endless. The books, mismatched, nameless, ageless. An old man greeted him from behind a counter made of driftwood. He wore a sweater that looked like it had been knitted from fog. "Looking for a story?" he asked. "Maybe," Rowen replied. "Or perhaps a memory." Rowen chose a small, pale blue book with no title. When he opened it, he found a lullaby written in his mother's handwriting. A lullaby he hadn't heard in years. His eyes prickled. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "All dreams drift," said the librarian, "and the kind ones come here to be remembered." He handed Rowen a blank book and a quill. "Leave one behind, if you wish." Rowen closed his eyes. He thought of a moment, a quiet walk with someone he once loved, hand in hand, in early morning light. When he opened his eyes, the memory had been copied into the book. The pages glowed softly, then stilled. Asterisk that evening, the village gathered in a clearing beneath a great willow tree. At its base was a stone well worn smooth by time and starlight. A sign near it read, "Whisper a wish, not for the world, just for your rest." Villagers stepped up one by one, holding tiny stones. Each whispered something only the night could hear, then dropped their stone gently into the well. When it was Rowen's turn, he stepped forward, holding the smoothest pebble he could find. He leaned close to the water and whispered, "I want to feel light again." The pebble sank. The surface rippled. A single feather floated upward and drifted into his hand. The crowd did not cheer. No one clapped up, but everyone smiled because they all understood. Asterisk, that night, the stars above Whisperwell glowed more brightly than they ever had before. They didn't shine, they breathed. Soft pulses of light moved across the sky like waves. Each star, a heartbeat, each constellation, a slow rhythm. The villagers gathered in the meadow and lay on the grass, arms behind their heads, eyes open to the sky. They listen, someone whispered. Rowen lay down too, the feather still in his hand, and watched. He didn't speak. He just thought of all the days he had carried too much. All the nights he'd been too tired to ask for help. All the dreams he had postponed for the sake of movement. And one by one, the stars pulsed, not blinking, responding, asterisk, when morning came again. If you could call it morning, Rowen stood at the edge of the village, his bag slung over his shoulder. But it no longer felt heavy. The innkeeper appeared beside him, as if from fog. "You're welcome back," she said. "Whenever your silence starts to feel too loud," he nodded up. Behind him, the village remained quiet, but not empty. Hollow was never empty. It simply waited for the next soul who needed to rest. Asterisk, Rowen never spoke of Whisperwell Hollow as though it were a place. Not really. He never said, "I went there" or "I stayed there." Instead, when asked about his travels, by kind strangers, by sleepy children, by curious friends, he would pause, tilt his head slightly, and say, "There's a village I once remembered," rather than visited. And if you were quiet enough after that, if you didn't press, didn't rush, didn't ask too many follow-up questions, he might tell you a little more. He might say that it isn't far away, not in miles anyway, but that it hides behind certain moments. In the first deep breath you take after a long, hard day. In the hush between pages of a good book. In the silence after someone finally says, "It's okay." Whisperwell Hollow, he would explain, doesn't need gates or borders, because it lives inside you, just beneath the noise, just beyond the worry, a place not made of stone or soil, but of stillness and softness, and the kinds of memories we think we've lost but haven't. And though he hadn't stepped foot on its mossy paths in years, the village had never really left him. In quiet moments, he would still hear the slow chime of the firefly lanterns. He would feel the soft weight of the memory pillow under his cheek, even when lying on ordinary sheets. And sometimes, in the lull between night and morning, he would smell the library's scent, that gentle blend of paper, tea, and something like the inside of a memory. He came to understand that rest wasn't something you chased. It was something you allowed, something you invited by letting go of proving, of pushing, of performing. And Whisperwell had taught him how to do just that. So when the world turned heavy again, as it always does, he would notice, would pause, he would close his eyes and return, if only in heart, to that slow little village where stars listened and pillows remembered, and he began sharing the secret knot with urgency. Not like someone who had a lesson to teach, but quietly, gently, like someone offering a lantern to another traveler in the dark. He told bedtime stories to the children in his life, nieces, nephews, neighbors, about a place that always waited for them, where no one needed to be perfect or clever or strong, just tired enough to rest. And at the end of every story, just before they drifted off, he'd whispered the same words that had once been whispered to him. You don't need to carry it all. You only need to rest. The hollow will hold the rest for you. And somewhere far away, or maybe very close, the stars above, Whisperwell pulsed once, gently, as if in reply.